we have Mr. Herman St. Helen from St. Lucia, an election official from St. Lucia. In terms of the format of our press conference today, we are going to begin with a statement from the Chief of the Mission, and following that, we will accommodate your questions. This is essentially a preliminary statement, and we want you to bear that in mind because we do have a process that involves a more comprehensive report. Once we have managed to have all our discussions on the tabulation of the results of our findings. So now I'm going to give the floor to Mrs. James.
Thank you very much, Ted, and thank you to the media for coming.
No, you have to. Yes, can you speak please in the microphone? Can you hold it in your hands? That would be easier. Thank you.
We really appreciate your presence. Heads of government of the Caribbean Community Caricom have committed to supporting member states on their request by providing an independent, impartial, and honest state assessment of the participation of the preparation for the conduct of general elections. In this context, the government of Suriname invited the Caribbean community to deploy a Caricom election observation mission to observe the conduct of general elections to be held on the 25th May 2025. In response to the invitation, the Caricom Secretariat deployed an 8-member team to observe the elections in the Republic of Suriname. The mission comprised of election practitioners in member states from Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago. The team was supported by staff from the Caricom Secretariat. The entire observation mission arrived in the Republic of Suriname by the 22nd May and will depart on the 27th. To adequately provide the independent, impartial, and honest assessment referred to earlier, the team observed the entire election in the host country, including observations of the general atmosphere and environmental conditions under which the election is being conducted, the activities at the polling station on the day of the election, the counting and tabulation of the votes after the closing of the polls, and the political climate after the announcement of the results. Collect qualitative and quantitative data regarding the entire election process, including the general administration of the election by the election officials and the conduct of stakeholders such as political actors, civil society, the media, and the voting public at large, and identify opportunities for improvement and make appropriate and timely recommendations. The pre-election period. The team used this period to engage a number of stakeholders who, the mission believed, would provide critical information on the country's electoral law and practices. These engagements also aided in the further understanding of the cultural and broader environment under which elections are held. The team paid a courtesy call to President Santoki and completed a series of engagements with the Independent Electoral Council, the Directorate of National Security, the National Assembly, the Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Business and International Cooperation. The team also met representatives of several political parties and civic organizations, including the Association of Indigenous Village Chiefs, the Inter-Religious Council, the National Youth Council, the Anti-Fraud Platform, the One O'Casey Foundation, the Maroon Tribes of Suriname, and the local government officials in the district of Bokokondo, Wanika, Mata, Bonadu, and Kara, including 2 vessels. The mission also engaged counterparts, international observer missions, including the OAS and the technical staff of the U.S. Embassy in Paramaribo. The engagements provided a better understanding of the Republic of Suriname political culture. On election day, the team visited 136 polling stations across 6 districts, namely Paramaribo, Saramaka, Wanika, Koroni, Kamawini, and Marawini. The team observed the polling activities, which included the opening of the polls, the voting process, the closing of the polls, and the counting of the ballots. The following is based on the team's observation. The pre-poll and opening procedures were followed. Most polling stations were opened on time in the polling districts, and most were fully staffed. It was observed that party agents witnessed the entire process, voting and counting, on the inside and outside of the polling stations. Polling stations were conveniently located and easily accessible to most of the voters. The mission further observed that there was a sufficient supply of the required voting materials at the polling stations. The team was keen to witness the implementation of the new electoral law that was approved in October 2023 by Suriname's Parliament. The Vice Chairman of the National Assembly indicated that the new law focuses on advancing equity, transparency, and democratic legitimacy. Overall, the general elections of 25th May 2025 were peaceful and successful, representing the current democratic processes of the Republic of Suriname. The team will prepare a full report for submission to the Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, which will include recommendations for the conduct of future elections in the Republic of Suriname. The Caricom Election Observer Mission expresses its gratitude for the invitation extended to participate in this observation mission and to support the democratic process in the Republic of Suriname. The team also extends appreciation to all of the stakeholders who contributed to the successful outcome of our mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. James, for that statement. So now we will open the floor for your questions. We ask that you raise your hand, and once we have signaled to you to proceed, that you first of all introduce yourselves in terms of your name and the media entity that you represent. So let me say that again. We're going to move to the question and answer segment, and we ask that you raise your hand, and once we have signaled that you may proceed, you indicate your name and the media entity that you represent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm a flight family news reporter for the local TV station ATV Channel 12. The first thing I want to ask the chair of the mission, was it a mission accomplished? So yes, what are the main observation points you did in your work? And when you will be going to your country, I think after the 22nd of May, what will you report to the, you will report to the country.
for your question. I would say yes, the mission was a success. We were able to do what we wanted to do, observe the election, and we did that. There was some points that we would like to mention in our final report, and I would prefer if you can allow us to do that. That will be submitted to the Secretary General of Caricom, and then it will be further disbursed to your government, the opposition, and the independent election body.
Good afternoon, my name is Maandag. You mentioned that, I know you might have heard that there were some difficulties at some of the voting stations, and also some concerns about the amount of people that went to voting, because Suriname has a very high voters turnout. Thank you. A high voters turnout, but this is very low for us at the moment and what we see. What were your observations about that, and does it concern also Caricom, because voters all over the world are not going to voting stations anymore, mostly?
I believe that this question will be better answered by the Suriname people why they didn't turn out. But for what we saw, there was steady flow at polling stations. Persons came out. I don't know if the rain had anything to do with some stations starting a little late. But in addition to the observation that persons turned out, we also noticed the camaraderie within the polling stations. We were peaceful, and we didn't see anything that would cause us to believe that there were other reasons. And as I say, Suriname would have to decide or determine from their own internal analysis why the turnout this year was lower than, say, 2020 or 2010, 2015. You'll have to make that assessment.
Good afternoon. My name is Gloria from TFD. You have mentioned that you have to report first to the Secretary General and then the opposition and the government. Did you also heard about people saying there is probably fraud in the elections and that people are not satisfied with the outcome we still have today, like 18? And what is exactly your task as the Caricom observation to do so we all can understand what it is? Thank you so much.
We observe the election process. Our mandate is not to interfere with what is happening. What we see, then we report on that. Yes, we heard about fraud because we were engaging with people. And I'm happy that you brought this question up, because when we made our first statement on Monday, on Tuesday, that question was thrown at us. And we said up front that we could not make a statement about fraud. We did not have enough time on the ground, and we did not see there was nothing to tell us. This is fraud, what it looks like, and what it feels like. We have engaged the community and many organizations over the week, and as I say, our findings will come out in the report. We can't just point out and say this is fraud because we didn't see. You will have to tell us what you mean when you say fraud, because we don't have that definition. But from our observation, there's always room for improvement, and our recommendations will stay in that line.
And what is the task? Only observation? Sorry.
Yes, our task was just observation. There were different ways we had to do a pre-observation before election. That is why we came in before. And so we get about better understanding. We need to understand your laws. We can't just come and observe and we don't know what your laws are saying. in relation to elections. So we needed to have a good hang of that. Speak with people who have an idea, who can guide us, who can provide that kind of information, and we're independent. Then we go out and make our observations.
Thank you. So, am I correct that you don't know what to look for? So, what are you observing then? Because if you don't know, maybe I don't really understand. So, can you please explain it again? You don't know what to observe?
Okay, we are here looking at elections. Elections is a process. And so we observe the process. And we measure that against what your loss is. If your loss is that you begin at 7 o'clock and you close at 7, we look for that. If your loss is 10 persons must be in the polling station and each will have their task, persons can come in and vote without intimidation and so on, we look to see if that is so. We'll also look to see how the staff operate with the persons who are coming in, the disabled, those persons who are challenged, in whatever form. We also must make sure that we see the closing of the polls, if how votes are counted, and if they're done according to the statement of your law.
Thank you.
I hope I'm able to answer you.
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much.
I've also asked this question to the observers for OS, and also to ask this to the Caricom observers. We've heard many times that Suriname's system has a lot of checks and balances, so it would be a little bit more complex to commit fraud. Have you experienced that? You've seen that? We observed that to this point.
If I see the checks and balances, yes, we have a lot of checks and balances. We saw it because we were looking, because those were stated in your laws, and we were looking to see if there were checks and balances, and yes, there are checks and balances.
Would you say that the elections 2025 were peaceful? Yes or no?
From where we observed, it was peaceful. With no one interfered with us, made us feel uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, the team, many of our members were surprised at the comfort and the peacefulness. And even when we went to stations that started late, people just sat there and waited for the time for the station. There was no quarrel. There was no confusion to say, okay, this is late and this is I'm going to be late for work or whatever. People waited and we waited patiently and peacefully.
Did you feel, as the observer of the Caribbean, that it was also free and fair? Yes or no?
I can't give you a yes or no answer. I can't give you a yes or no answer. Practitioners have different ideas of what free and fair would mean. So I leave it there.
Because I have put that question, so because what is your experience in the Caribbean? You have St. Lucia here, you have other regions here. What is the mainstream experience?
Generally, elections in all of the Caribbean, regionally, internationally, if you want to join, I want to draw your attention, I will draw your attention to America. And everywhere you go, people speak about free and fair elections, and they have different definitions for that. We in the Caribbean, not only in Suriname, South America, here in Suriname, all of us experience what you experience here. People, oppositions, parties get on the opposition, they complain. When they get into government, they forget about the complaints. So sometimes things are thrown at you at the beginning, for whatever reason, comments are being made. But as a Caricom team, we cannot just come and say, okay, people spoke about fraud, and yes, there's fraud, and people spoke about fraud, and there is no fraud, because we don't know what it looks like. But what we do know, when we observe we were in tune with your laws and we saw it improve.
So the elections 2025 were free, fair, and very peaceful.
That's your summation.
Thank you.
Still I have one question. Sorry, ma'am. There's another question. Suppose you, as an observer, you see one of the members at the table is busy with her phone. Are you allowed to walk and say, ma'am or sir, you are busy with your phone, can you put that down? Or is that not one of your tasks?
No, it's not my task, and I think that's for professionals when people, we went to the stations, I didn't see them putting their phones, or they were too busy getting their work done. But I can't say people would not use their phones. You might have an emergency, you might have something that you have to answer on your phone. But you can't make that determination to come and tell you, okay, put down your phone, because this is outside of the ambit of your work.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ze hebben die vragen beantwoord over fraud.
Are there any more questions?
No.
Well, if not, we thank you very much for having come today.
Ze kunnen ook niet veel zeggen, ze moeten hun rapport nog uitbrengen.
Putting their findings on this process. We want to wish you the best in the next days ahead, as it will be exciting as you soon meet people, putting yourselves on board, trying to form a government. Once again, thank you and have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Ja, dus mensen, ik was dus hier bij die persconferentie en ja, zij moeten nog een rapport uitbrengen dat het overhandigd is aan de overheid, ja. Dus ze kunnen er ook nog niet veel over zeggen, dus ja, het is eigenlijk, ja, het is leuk, die vragen, maar eigenlijk krijg je weinig antwoord. Ze zegt, ja, wat is fraude? Dan zouden we eerst moeten weten, waar moeten we dan op letten? Ja, dus we moeten ervan uitgaan, iedereen is groot en praat, nou ja, niet iedereen, maar heel veel mensen praten nu over fraude. Ik denk dat alle zaken onderzocht moeten worden. En dan, wat ik gezien heb bij de stembureaus, dat het bijna onmogelijk is om tijdens die stemcontrole te frauderen, hoor. Want er is zoveel, dat zei de OAS, we hebben zoveel controle dat het bijna eigenlijk niet efficiënt is, zei ze, maar het werkt voor jullie. Dat zei iets van de OAS. Oké, we gaan nu naar een persconferentie bij Binnenlandse Zaken. Ik sowieso meteen weer terug. Dat zo, en het regent bij Pijpenstelen, hoor ik. Later.